Okay, good evening everyone. So we are back with Gadik Psych with my segment 3 a.m. thoughts. Although it's not really 3 a.m. today because my guest speaker or my good friend has he can't make it if it's too early in the morning. So we had to make what time is it? It's like 10 o'clock now. Okay, so my special guest for today is none other than my friend and my brother, Pastor Kurt Fermantes. Okay,
Hello, good evening.
he's a pastor here in Davao City in Sandawa, and also he teaches Bible school. And he is also has a degree in I think is education. Am I right, Brad?
Yes.
Okay, so let's start. Um, so my show, I know Pastor Curtis. He's new to my show, so my show it's more about 3 a.m. thoughts or thoughts that come out in my mind when I go to sleep. So I had the one thought that I was thinking, who best to talk about this. So I was thinking, so I think, oh, I know someone that could really give us some good insights about this topic. So my thought of today is more about what is happening in the church now in cases in terms of the online services. Okay, so I know that my friend, my friend Pastor Kurt, he got the new job in the best one of the biggest churches in nicest churches, not to brag about it, in the grace community churches in the Philippines. So he just, I think it's not yet 1 year, Brad, 1 year, but Pastor Kurt.
Uh, yes.
Okay, it's already one
It
year.
will be a year this October.
Okay, so 1 year over. So I remember, if I correct me wrong, by the time you went into to your new job or your new ministry here in Davao, it was really when the pandemic just started. Is it right?
Yes.
So so my question is, how was the how did the online thing, right? Because we could not have face to face preachings, affected your how you did your usual routine. I know as a fact, as I've been a pastor also, I held a church before. It's really different when you preach to a congregation than what we're doing right now, doing interview in Zoom. So let's hear from Pastor Kurt.
Um, it came as quite a shock for, I think, every pastors when we had to shift our approach from the traditional way of worship to something as we can call remote
Mm,
worship here in the Philippines. Because when we were in Bible schools, we were trained how to interact with our audience or our congregation in a more personal, more
mm.
intimate manner. We were taught when you are preaching that you have to walk around
Yeah,
or to
sure. Look
uh,
them in the eye.
some
Yeah.
yes, look at them in the eye, and then somehow to talk to them when in a friendly manner and
Mm-mm.
converse like normally you would converse outside the church. So it came as quite a surprise when we have to really shift from that kind of service to an online service. There is a pro and con, I would say, for having an online worship. An online worship somehow allows us to reach further than the four corners of the church. Now that we have our online service, we can reach people abroad,
Mm-mm. True.
other unchurched, I'd say, believers who have been looking for a church but could not
Mm-mm.
find one in their vicinity, but now they are participating in our online services. So that's a pro. But in terms of, I'd say, intimacy with the worship on how
Mm-mm.
you somehow it feels really different when you are there in the church personally participating in the worship and when you are just looking at it away from your phone.
And you are
And
speaking about the audience.
yes, the
Okay.
audience. And even in the perspective of the pastors themselves, I would say that um, there is the benefit of, maybe because of online workshop, there is the benefit of, um I would say, laxity, because no one would really have
Mm,
the some audacity of, commenting something bad, because those people, kumbaga, who would be commenting something bad online would be the one who will be bashed, kumbaga, because of your somehow poor performance as a pastor when you are preaching. So I think there is this danger of, in terms of the pastor's perspective, there is the danger of, being too relaxed in preparation just because it's
mm,
online, and there's no really crowd to
mm.
where you can play up with their reaction.
Yeah, you can see if they're sleeping
Yeah, you can see
or
their
they
reaction, or
or
where they
they're
are sleeping.
angry.
Yes, yes, exactly.
And
They are
the
angry.
amens help, right, Pastor? When they
Yes,
say amen.
you, because as a preacher, you play up with their reaction, right? When you can say that, when you can see in your audience that they are bored, you shift to something, or
That's true.
your thought right there, and then move on to something else where they might be interested.
Yeah,
So it's
I always thought, Pastor Kurt, that when somebody say amen or they really look at you when you preach, it gives me like when I'm playing basketball, it gives me a adrenaline rush. Then I really like to
yes.
pound them, right, or go come closer because I know you're right.
somehow it gives you a hint that this is something that they're looking for, or something that they are waiting for in your message. When they
Mm.
say amen, it means that you somehow hit the spot of what they're looking for in your message, and then you build up to it. Kumbaga. So I think that's the idea when pastors are preaching personally, but somehow you can't do that when you are preaching online. And yeah, you can't play off any reactions. You can't even see if they're smiling or what, sending hearts or
Mm.
sending smileys in the message. But
Sometimes they don't mean it; they just heart it, right?
yes,
One thing I
so
know
yeah,
now,
they just
Pastor Kurt, that if I may, um, I notice how you preach is me and you have a kind of similar method of preaching that we really like to converse with the person, really like to approach them in those things. So online worship in kind of in many ways, I agree with you. Me also personally, it kinds of works against us
yes.
because I just preach a couple of last year, I think, and then I spoke about speaking to a camera. Until now, I have to look at the camera. I have to learn that I have to look at the camera, not my face right now. So that is something because this is something dead. But Pastor, going back to what you said, so that is something that may work against us. But there are
Mm.
also pastors, as you say, we are not naming names. So the viewers here, this is just a general thoughts, and you may comment below if you disagree. Give us. We are open to ideas also. Anyways, if I may continue, you spoke about laxity.
Mhm.
Do you mean in a way pastors will tend not to work as hard because they cannot perceive that they are preaching to more or a larger scope of audience, like you said, maybe people from out of the country, like this, and so but in the moment may make pastors relax because they feel like they're alone, right? What do you think?
Yes,
Is a
I think
problem
that
with the
would be it.
perception?
Um, I think it's a problem with, somehow it gives off the. I think the idea would be, it's because there's no crowd where you really interact with. It's, you prepare a message that would be a monologue, I would say, and you are
Mm-mm.
not really trying to make it like a dialogue that you are expecting something from the audience during your message. Because when we make, even in preaching, we try to make a message that would be somehow not really interactive, because they can't really ask questions or say anything
Mm-mm. Because it's
during
a
the
preaching,
message. But
right?
yes, it's a preaching, but somehow they would give off a reaction, they would give off this response during your message, even with the little amen and little, bits of and yes, pastor, and somehow like that. You try to make your message more of a dialogue, really, where you try to, kind of create what they call as the pain. points. Am I saying it right? In your message,
Mm-mm.
something that would create or stimulate a reaction from the audience. And because of that lack of response from the audience, we would be tempted to just give a message, a simple
Okay, I
message.
get.
Yes.
Mm-mm.
Um, One other thing is that because it's an online message, it requires more effort from us. Like preparing a PowerPoint presentation that will be conducive to an online worship service. It means that sometimes, in my case, would be bigger fonts, and then you'd have to add knowledge to your PowerPoint presentation, like
Things that we are not used to it, right,
yes,
Pastor?
things that we
Because
are not used to.
me
So
personally,
there is
I really preach with the Bible on my hand. I really don't.
yes.
I'm an
So
old fashioned guy, so I do not.
yes,
But now, like you said, the
yes,
the
we
visual aids
you,
is needed, right?
mm, yes, it's very much needed because even if you're bringing your Bible there, you can't really
Show them, right?
ascertain, or yeah, show them, or you can't also ascertain that people online are also opening up their Bibles because there's no one to observe them when they
Okay.
are in online service.
Mhm.
So you can't really sure if they're opening their Bibles. So just to
True,
make sure
true,
that
true.
you're reading something, that yeah, during your online service, so you have to have this PowerPoint presentation with all your verses in there. So it's an additional effort to us. But like I said, some pastors would tend to go the other way around and just stick to normal preaching without preparation because yes, it involves more effort in their part. So there is a temptation of being lax and being afraid of putting more effort because it would be in vain somehow. Uh, You
So,
can't really sure if your message was
mm-mm,
well received
well
by
received
people
or
because
not,
you can see their reaction.
because
Yes,
people
well received or
will
not.
really not say it on the comment section that, oh, your preaching sucked
Yes.
or your
No.
teaching was
Yeah,
bad. Nobody will
I
do that.
haven't.
So you
Yes.
but in church sometimes happen, right? After church, you will notice if somebody
Yes.
really
Yes.
will
It
not shake
happens
your
a lot.
hands. Sometimes if your love
Especially
gift
for
is
us who
small,
are
so it means my preaching was not that good.
yeah, it's an indication, right?
Yeah.
That those people who gives you something after the church.
Mm,
Yeah, it's an indication. And some people, especially for us who are younger pastors, those who are ahead of
mm,
us in the church would really say something about their message, and they would be bold enough to tell you in your face where somehow where you can grow in your message, and
mm,
it helps. It's a little bit painful, embarrassing, but it helps you grow. But online people don't tend to do that because
mm.
well, you can't really do it privately.
And then
Talking something, yes, in that
in the
subject can't
in
be
the
done privately. So
in the era also of the screenshot, so it's kind of hard to put
yes,
somebody on something in writing.
mm,
And given
correct.
that we are talking about, I said to the audience that you also teach Bible school, right? So don't you think, Pastor Kurt, that this is also a wake up call to us to give and make up a new subject or a new subject in Bible school about, like you said, let's say PowerPoint making or even online preaching? Because for me, my personal opinion, online preaching is something totally different from what we were taught in homiletics, or for the viewers that do not know
Mm,
the art of preaching. So this, we were not taught this way. We were taught, like you said, the movement of the hands, the emphasize the power, the eye contact, the stand, how to walk, how to stand in the pulpit. But given you are working in the four corners of your monitors, so it's I think for me it's a 360-degree method, and it should. Do you think that it should be given a new course in Bible school about online preaching?
yes, I think Bible school should adapt with the times
Mm-mm,
whenever it's needed.
mm-mm,
So now that we see a surge of online worship all throughout the Philippines, and even in our vicinity, almost every church are taking advantage of online services. So all pastors, especially those who are still in training in the Bible school should be
Mm-mm.
able to adapt to these changes. And there are good and bad, um, like I said, or good and some disadvantages of online worship, but it's still a means to reach out
Mm.
people. So if ever the pandemic stops and we revert back to our traditional way of worship, we still have the opportunity to have an
Mm.
online worship. And most people
I agree.
would, when most churches would choose not to give up on their online services, even though they have personal and physical worship services when
Mm.
the pandemic stops.
So it not go to
So
waste, right? If we
yes,
learn
yes, it
something
will
new.
not go to waste. So if they learn how to do online service while they are in training in Bible schools, then that would be a plus in their pastoring skills, I'd say.
Just to paraphrase, so you agree if I would say that it would be needed even if the pandemic ends to have a n- if not a course, a special program to really teach about the online worship. We can even put
Yes,
a topic in homiletics, right, about on virtual worship, virtual preaching, I guess. Would you
yes.
agree?
Um, I think the topic regarding our involvement online is a very good subject
Mm-mm.
that should be taught in our Bible schools, because not only in the realm of online preaching, but somehow everyone is online nowadays.
True, true.
Everyone is now on TikTok. Everyone is now on Facebook. Everyone is on IG, or well, I'm not, but most people are. I'd say
Yeah.
most people are. But it means that you have plenty of avenues in your hands
Mm-mm.
that you can use to reach out to these people. And I know that there are somehow in the circle of the pastoral community that there are stigma in TikTok, and I know that you know this. And
Yeah.
who are these pastors who have somehow reserved feelings regarding some social medias? But I've seen plenty of messages online that really move me. And there is this one video I saved on TikTok. Huh? Yes, I've been on TikTok
Mm.
for just a few months, I'd say, when it boomed. But I really enjoy the messages, this 30-second message from TikTok that really very short, very concise, and very moving at the same time. So I thought to
Mm.
myself that, well, people really made use of these online platforms to reach out to other people, to encourage people, to move people, to encourage Christians or preach to the unreached. So having this subject in our Bible schools would really help a lot, not only in somehow in preparing us for an online service, but also to expand our skills and reach out to those people who are away from us. So it's a means for preaching, it's a means for teaching, just like what we're doing. It's a means for evangelizing people who are not yet acquainted with our
True.
faith. So yes, it really helps a lot when we know something about the online world.
Um, Going by your point, uh, I agree with your points. Totally agree with your points. I even would go as far, but this guys is my opinion. I would even go as far as if the Lord allows and the Bible school can get some good people to teach us our young pastors about it. I will go as far as give special lessons on each social media platform and how to utilize it for the Lord. I would go as far as that. So, but there's no denying, Pastor. Now you open a good topic that I think it's we should talk about this. So there's no denying that Instagram, Facebook has been long used for the for for the ministry. Many pastors do that. But there are two platforms that kind of goes away from it. It's a Twitter and the TikTok. But let's not talk about Twitter. Maybe in another time, and also because we are short. But let's talk with the hot issue nowadays. Now, as you said, there are device. There's a division between pastors who agree with who think that TikTok is a good, it's a bad and evil thing, purely even. And also there are some of the pastor that think that is a revenue for ministry. Like you said, like there we can make preaching in there. Now my question is what do you say to the pastors that are against it? And I want to just say to the viewers, even if there are pastor that listening here, again, we are open. You can send me a message or send Pastor Kurt a message about this topic, and we can do another segment and talk about it. We are very open to discussion, constructive discussion. So let's, what do you say to pastors that do not agree with TikTok anyway? Now, just to finish my point, and then you can give your response. I have a very good friend of mine, a pastor, that is like a second father for me. And we had a discussion in Facebook about TikTok, and he had a post, but it was not his, and he shared, and he said that the TikTok is evil, and he quoted verses. But I responded it because, and I said that if TikTok is evil, I think Facebook is more evil, because in Facebook I'm allowed to put sexual, like, girls with no clothes. You can show beheaded people, massacre people. Even though Facebook, if somebody will report, it will go away. But it's not like TikTok. That TikTok is very, because I know in a fact, for some reason, guys, do not ask why, but I really know the mechanics of TikTok, and they can go like this, even if they see just a little, if your name has a little bit of explicit words or bad words, you can be banned right there. If you are a minor, you can be banned like that. But Facebook is another thing. Even though there's a lot of good in Facebook, but still the same activities that you can say is evil in TikTok, I think Facebook is greater in Facebook. What do you think, Pastor Kurt? And why do you think TikTok is being labeled by mostly pastors and workers in the ministry as very evil?
I guess it would be partly due to how they were exposed to the app.
Mhm.
And since most of, I'd say, users are exposed with videos or something, are those videos on TikTok that are more sexually inclined, I'd say. That is why, um, I don't know the algorithm with TikTok,
Mhm.
but I noticed that as much as I no whenever you watch a video on TikTok and then um you can see that it's something that you don't like to see and then swipe up immediately,
Mm-mm.
those videos would appear less and less in your feed.
Mm.
I don't know
Okay.
why it happens, but um every time there's a video on TikTok and then I notice that it's not something that I want to see in the future to my feed, and I swipe it up without even finishing the video. As the more I swipe it up, the less and less I see of the video of the same category. So I'd say that partly it's because most people outside of the church or inside of the church, and I guess this is the problem, it's because they tend to watch these videos that are, well, we consider it should not be seen by Christians. So these videos appear more and more in their feeds because it's
You're
what
meaning
they
the
want.
class, the genre of videos that you're,
Yes, the
yeah,
genre of the videos that they watch.
mm,
And I'm saying that, say for example, those people who are unbelievers, they watch videos on TikTok who are, let's say, less than ideal for
mm,
kids, for Christians. Since this is what they are watching, then more and more of these genres of these videos would appear in their feed, and most pastors are exposed to or somehow been told that this is everything that video or TikTok is giving us. That this is just everything that they are giving to children, and
so, so do
I
you think,
think
Pastor
it's
Kurt, that it, because the pastors did not try it, so some kind of
yes,
because they
and
do not
I
haven't seen it and they just heard, it's kind of
yes,
contributes to the stigma that is only about, I will just say, the sexy dancing or the
Yeah, the sexy dancing and the
and then the bad
women who
words
are,
things. Okay.
yeah, yeah. And I would say that yes, it's partly because they only know in part, and that's, I think, one of the dangers of half half baked knowledge, I would say.
Okay. Yeah,
Searchable of
that's a good way
anything.
to put it. Half baked.
Because some people see it as an opportunity, while we only see it as danger. We only see it as a threat, but most people would see it as something that they can use for the good. I mean, it's like anything else. Like a knife, it can be used for good or for evil. A gun can be used to protect or to kill. Any other, like any platforms online, can be used for good or for bad. When you research something,
True.
like, for example, right, for us pastors, when we research something on Google, and then because we have questions regarding biblical topics, and then Google is very, very helpful for those things. But some people would use it for a different means, and Google would be bad. Every now and then,
Yeah.
it sides from good and bad depending on how we use it. And I guess it's the same message I would give to pastors who have reservations for apps like this. It depends on how we use it. It depends on what we watch on TikTok or any other online platforms. Depends on how we take advantage of
Mm-mm.
what is
True.
being given to us.
True. I could agree. I could agree more with about the TikTok thing. One time the first time I tried it, it was because I was really curious. It took a very long time before I started TikTok, and then I watched one time, and then I did not know how to operate actually, Pastor Kurt. So I did not use it at all. It was recently that I found a job, and the job was about we work on the technical things of TikTok. I will not go to detail because my job does not allow us to tell in public what we are doing. But we do not make videos, but we kind of work with the developers. Anyways, going with that point, I had to be forced to watch. And once in a while I go to sleep like you and I watch. I was noticed that lately I just see the bikes, the carbon load these things. It goes back. Because I take long and I look their bikes, even if I don't bike. So it's true. It's kind of work of the algorithm, and the dancing does not appear anymore. So that
Yeah,
is
yeah,
something I would agree. But um, but I think, uh, the user, as you say, if I'm correct, if I'm right, what you said is you are emphasizing that always depends with the user, right? It's just like the question, is God evil? Why did he created they created Satan, but Satan was not Satan on the first part. He was
yeah,
Lucifer, and he was given free will also. So like Lucifer, we have the free will, like you said, of using the app for good or for bad. And I cannot lie, but there are some really funny videos in TikTok that makes me laugh, and even my tears come out because some people are really creative, uh, very very good in creativity. And I will also add, I think TikTok is a good way to people that are not so handsome to really shine and show their because
yeah,
Instagram and Facebook is all and YouTube is all about people that are wow.
yeah.
It's amazing how
Photogenic,
they look.
or
Yeah. But TikTok, you see those guys, those sorry, the obese guys and with the ugly face, and but they makes you laugh. And then I think in a way they make is a revenue for lesser people with lesser appearance to work and show what they can show. And like you said, the preaching. Now, Pastor Kurt, would you encourage member a young pastor or your students in your Bible school to make ministry in TikTok?
yeah, sure. I mean, I'd encourage them to make a ministry anywhere online if they can, right? If it's an opportunity they can use to reach more people, then why not? Because yeah, like I've said before, well, I think I am on the same boat as you when I started TikTok, because I was really curious, and some people are already in it, and somehow I feel like I'm lagging behind this thing. So I watch out of curiosity. Um, My name on TikTok is even a user number, username and number like that. I did not even change it because it did not bother.
A troll.
I am not
Troll.
making
Not a
yes,
troll.
and I'm not making videos, so it doesn't really matter to me. I'm just watching it for fun, or and at the same time for knowledge because I pick up a lot of things from TikTok. So if there is an opportunity, because there are these people who are very creative in making videos, and yes, Christians who
Mm-mm.
made use of it properly have been very encouraging, and I can read comments of how people were moved, how people were turned from their ways, or they shifted from some behavioral changes. Some even commented like they were saved from suicide. So see, if we use this properly, if we use this avenue properly, then we can have a different ministry of reaching out people, even if we can't see their face. It's somehow the mind boggles of how much opportunity have been given to us
Mm-mm.
of being able to reach people who, well, technically, we would not be able to reach without this online platforms that have been given to us. So yes, if there is an opportunity that we can use to have have a ministry in TikTok, then why not? As long as we can do it, according to our faith, according to what we know is right, then yeah.
Given
Uh,
what you said, Pastor Kurt, do you think that the church is lagging behind with the word? Would you say that?
I would say that some churches are, some
Mm-mm.
churches are ahead, some churches are lagging behind.
What you
Maybe
like? I just to be specific because this is straight talk here. Uh, what kind of, can you describe a church that is lagging behind for you? It's an opinion,
yes.
so people can agree to disagree.
This would be rather sensitive, but in my personal opinion, a church would be lagging behind if
In
it's
this time, I mean, right?
yes, in this time, if it's not doing everything it can, even when an opportunity is given to them. For example, if, there is a new method for preaching, let's say, for example, there's a new method for preaching that has been proven effective to reach people, but you
Mm-mm.
have been used to your old way of teaching because you have seen it's seen its fruits before, but you don't want to accept or be retrained or be reoriented with the new kinds of preaching techniques because you have already been used to your old ways. So I would say that you as a pastor or even the church who you or you are affiliated with lags behind with the current trends or the current techniques or the current methods that have been proven effective because there is this I'd say idea in our college before
Mm-mm.
which said that every 2 years the curriculum must be changed in every
Yeah.
college or in every tertiary education here in the Philippines, it is highly advised that in every 2 years, the curriculum must be changed because they believe that the world is changing, the needs are changing,
True.
and the people are changing along with it. So the school cannot lag behind the time. Soon, if they won't be changing, they would be producing incompetent and unadaptable, say for example, teachers or leaders because they have not been acquainted with the times. And if churches also do the same, then churches like that would really lag behind because they have not accepted that these things are already needs. So for example, and because this you are
Mm-mm.
a psychologist, most people do not really tend to imagine mental health as an actual need for many people. For so long, we did not think that mental health is something that people should be watching out for, right?
Mm-mm.
Um, most of our churches are not really open. Not really. Not. I'm not saying that they're not open, but we are not used to counseling. Even big churches yes, we counsel every now and then, but it's not really something, a ministry that we really focus on, because somehow mental health is something that is should be dealt with individually. That's somehow the idea that it's something that will be passing, something that time would heal, or something like that. So most people do not think of mental health as really a need, such as physical or a spiritual health. So we tend to neglect it. How much have we counseled in a month or in
True.
a year, right? As a pastor, because we don't really see it as a need for so long. But now that times are changing, and we have psychologists or psychiatrists and people who are now masters in counseling, that we have started to see these needs. But if churches would deny or refuse to see it as a need, then I'd say they are also lagging behind.
Mm.
So I think that, yeah,
That's a good point. So in one way of doing it would be to equip our pastors with advanced counseling teachings and methods that
yeah,
psychologists may use, and pastor could we integrate it with the Bible. And going back to the point that you made, I would really agree that if you do not adjust, that was a very nice point that you say that if you do not adjust, it's a negligence, and it's the accountability falls to the pastor and the church because he is not willing to do what he can to adjust. We are not saying that we will go to the trend, no, but adjust to how the needs of the word. So I really like the what you said, Pastor Kurt. So just to was a beautiful speech. Just to end our topic. This last topic would be: do you think, honestly, seeing us how it is, and we are almost, and I pray and I hope that we're almost finishing our COVID era. We're going to the vaccination are going fast, and I think this is coming to an end. So, if you would give an evaluation, do you think that online worship helped or it damaged the growth of the church? What do you think? You got my question? So was the
yes.
online worship a plus for us, or was it a big minus for us?
At first, I think we moved to online worship because we kind of have to.
Of
It's
necessity,
not really
right?
some, yes, out of necessity. We started it because we need to bridge the gap of the absence of our audience to the place of worship. So it becomes a bridge for people to somehow be in the church without being in the church. So we started the online worship, yeah, out of necessity, because we don't really have a choice. So the online worship now really, I would say that somehow it helped those people who wants to be in the church, who wants to somehow feel like they are in the church, that they are somehow connected to the church. So it helped, became a bridge or an avenue for them to feel like they still belong in the church, even though they can't go to the church physically. So it helped them hear the message. It helped them be encouraged with the songs. But I I would say from personal perspective that it only helped for those who are somehow growing. I'd say growing spiritually, because they are
Mm,
seeking for connection, right? But for those who are
mm,
already been in the church for so long, who are mature, I think the online worship kind of, I'd say, hampered,
mm. I get your point.
dampened their growth,
Mm,
because they have shifted downward,
mm,
I'd say. Because and this is because they were used to their growth somehow depended on, and because they are already mature, their growth, spiritual growth, depended on heavily on being close as much as possible to the church. If you are new to the church, and even if say for example, if you are newly converted, you won't be affected much by not being in the church because you can still feel connected online. So the feeling of looking something spiritual can still be found online. But if you are already acquainted or you have been in the church for so long and you have reverted to an online worship, I think there is more tendency for you to not really feel the worship anymore.
I get your point.
We have seen we have seen plenty of mature Christians who comes to the church because they have, well, that's what they used to do. That's what they are used to do, and it's a routine. It's somehow out of, sometimes out of necessity, out of social pressure, that they are already mature Christians or like much mature Christians, but they are expected to be seen in the church. Sometimes they just do it because they want to feel something new. I would say they are looking for something new. But now that we have reverted to online worship, just like me, because when I go to the church, and I believe it's the same case for you. When we go to the church, we are looking for something that we can learn because we have been in the church for so long. Every time we go
True,
to the
true.
church,
That-
we are hoping that we learn something. We learn something new from our speaker, or even from the music, or even from the fellowship, right? But now that we have reverted to this online online worship, there is now much more temptation for us, not to be excited anymore.
Mm,
uh,
mm,
Even though there is still an opportunity to learn. I don't know if I'm explaining it clearly, but um, I think the temptation for those who are matured to lax in their worship is stronger when they are doing it online. Because if you go to the church and there's nothing new, at least I went to the church, right? But if I'm online, and then there's also nothing new for me to hear there, then somehow as a mature believer, there's more tendency for me to not really worship as much as I can, not really put my heart into it. I don't know if you get what I mean.
mm,
Sometimes we worship because we try to worship as best as we can when we are physically on the church, right? Even if we are not
mm,
excited
mm.
anymore,
True,
yeah,
true,
we
true.
still try to uh, pull that emotion out. That we have to worship as best as we can. So there's still the temptation, but when you are at home just looking at your phone, you can lie down, you can watch it with your headset and just try to
Mm.
relax as much as possible. The temptation of I'd say the temptation of um, yeah, being relaxed, being not giving your all when you are in worship is much more stronger because of the online worship. So I'd say there is a plus and minus on online service, and it depends to most people. And I'm not generalizing those who are
Mm.
considering themselves as mature Christians, but I myself would say that there is much more temptation for me to not give my best in worship because it's online.
But you just spoke something that people know, but they really don't want to admit it. So that
Yeah,
is
yeah,
very good point. Because I would be honest. What I do is when I watch a preaching. But Brad, if there is a sound that I don't like, it will bug me so much because I am used for how many years to go to the church that if there's something that bugs a preaching or something, somebody will say, "Hey, get the thing off" or something, so it does not disturb you. Or if there's child running in the front of the pastor, oh, get the child. Whose child is that? So it we always get those things that the extraneous variables that destroy our concentration. But now in online worship, like we are known, it bugs us. Internet connection when
yes,
it cuts the if let's say I'm listening to this talk show and then in the middle it cuts, it kind of gets so much from me. Oh, it gets me dry. And then I really get your point. If somebody is growing and like let's say before they was scared to go to church, or was ashamed to go to church,
mm,
maybe has no good clothes, and then he thinks that he has to wear his hearts out just to go to church so he will not be judged, so he will stay at home. But now he can go to church even if he does not
yes,
have the means to go to church. Now he can go and grow. He can see new people and pick and choose the preacher that he wants. But for somebody like us that are grew in a church, I will agree that it's very hard for us to have so much
Yes.
distraction and things that may tempt us to sway. So that was a very good point, Pastor Kurt. And I personally would say that I would agree for the same what you said. Would you agree, Pastor, that we should really sit down and talk with our old sorry for the term our mature old members, sit down and talk of something that would stimulate how they would bring similar feeling to what it was before, because in psychology, if you know the conditioning, the reinforcement and those things
Yes.
about Skinner and everything. So it talks about we really want to reinforce a behavior, so it we give something so to the child, so she wants, if she do something good, you give a reward, so it
Yeah.
stimulates that behavior and make us grow. Now, the person that goes to church every Sunday, that listen from the start of the Sunday school until the end of the service, that for years did that. So he is already in the peak of the behavior, the best behavior that he would have in terms of going to church. Now we have taken that away.
Yeah.
So it's very good point that you made. That if you take it away, it's like he's flying with in the clouds. He has no place to land. So it's something that I think. Would you agree we should sit down and really think? Maybe make small groups and make them sit down and worship
Yeah.
in areas, and then and let the preacher be one preacher from the screen, but the let's say the service could be done by their own. Maybe that could help, right? I don't know, but there's those things that we could talk about in our next segment, because we have reached our time. I promise that we would go less than 1 hour, but because of the very interesting feedbacks, so it was a good. So, thank you so much, my pastor, my friend, and my brad, Pastor Kurt Fermantes, for your
Thank you
time.
so much, Pastor Steve.
And for the viewers, don't worry that that would be not the last time. We have still a lot of talk with you, and maybe there's an upcoming segment that I'm going to try with Pastor Kurt. It's a kind of a podcast. We will try that maybe in the next month, and I hope you will tune in, so you can watch it online. And for those that are new, please subscribe and click the notification bell for updates and more videos. And if you like the video, please like, and also please comment below if you disagree or if you agree. But be kind, because we have soft hearts. So don't be too much. So if you want also to be private on it, you can ask me in my Facebook account, or you can ask Pastor Kurt. I know he's more than open for even harsh views. Even me, if
Yeah.
you have a about the TikTok thing and you say, Pastor, I really disagree with that, I'm really open, and I will never get angry if you come with me straight away. So thank you so much, everybody. And thank you again, Pastor Kurt.
Thank you.
And that's all.
Thank you,
Goodbye
Pastor
and
Steve.
good night.